Hear that noise? Sounds weird because we're in an EV. This is the all-new Hyundai Ioniq 5N. And Hyundai wants this to be the vehicle that makes people who are kind of anti-EV to start to like EVs. Now you don't need to have that noise, nor do you need to shift like I just shifted, but all of this is simulated, so it does that. I hit a button, I'm out of that mode. This has some goofy features, and it has some really, really cool features. One of the coolest features is the amount of power. In the standard, just everyday driving mode, you have 601 horsepower. Hit the N-Grin boost mode, you have 641 horsepower for up to 10 seconds. There are different drive modes, there's different pedal sensations. Because this is a two-motor EV, you have torque vectoring all-wheel drive. The power is put exactly where you need it. This is 2 inches wider than the standard Ioniq 5. It has more vents and cooling and more exterior styling for aero. The seats inside are more supportive, and they really are supportive. The steering ratio is quickened, and the steering components is stiffened up. The chassis is stiffer. This is very much an exercise in let's take a vehicle that exists and, oh my God, coming out of corners is ridiculous, and make it more exciting, more thrilling, and they've done that. Some of the stuff, like I said, is goofy though. The shift mode is interesting. It's really neat to be able to do that, but let me see. Oh, that's that. Let me just take it out of that mode. It's really neat to be able to do that. There's a rev limiter and everything. And the way it does it is by the shift feeling. It's like a slight moment of brake regen that's activated to give you that subtle delay you feel. I don't get why you would want that though on a racetrack, because even though it's a split second, that split second theoretically would make you a little bit slower. But the feeling is neat. It feels legit. Like that feels like a shift. And that's pretty wild. But again, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think the noise is necessary. And there's 3 types of noise. I don't think the noise is necessary because part of the appeal of the EV is the quiet. But if this is the vehicle that bridges the gap for some people and gets them interested, maybe it'll be worth it. All of the goofiness aside, I think like the N-Grin shift button, like the names are kind of silly. All of that aside, the engineering and the driving enjoyment in this car is fantastic. For $66,100, I got to double check if that includes destination or not, but that's the base price. You get a vehicle that can absolutely rip on a canyon road or a racetrack, which is crazy. Is a vehicle you can use on a daily basis because you've got seats and space, and it's bigger than it seems. Even though it looks like a hot hatch, it's like they call it an SUV. It's a hog hatch. It's a fat hot hatch, like an upsized Golf GTI, plus sized, excuse me. But just sitting here ripping in this thing, it feels fantastic and a nice, just well-made package. Of course it is. It's a modern Hyundai. They're all great. But the attention to detail to make it entertaining and enjoyable for enthusiasts is where it's most impressive. But that's only partly true, because where it's really impressive is it's still weird getting used to the noise. The noise is odd. It's kind of fun. But it's weird. I hope you can hear me over the wind noise. We have to have the window down. This car will rotate. Did you hear that shift? Oh my God, that's so funny. You can feel it too. It's wild. All right, here we go. Lapa Laguna Seca in the Hyundai Ioniq 5N. Just came off pit road. It says special developed Pirelli tires. an absolute blast. Shift. Now, I don't think the shifting is necessary, but their goal is to appeal to enthusiasts who might be EV adverse. And this is an interesting strategy to do it. A lot of waggle over that turn one hump. It's very interesting. Toss it in. Famous two-turn. Oh yeah. I mean, hear those tires getting tortured because this thing weighs a ton. See, that's an example where the shifting was weird. And I don't know if I want it. Jason Fenske's in front of me, and he just went a little goofballs in that corner. Corkscrew! Yeah, buddy. All right, let's see. Tons of speed on the straight. We're not even into the boost mode. A lot of movement over that one. The suspension and tires are doing so much work. All right, backing it down for the cool down lap here. Yes, it's heavy. You can really feel the weight out here, but the suspension is working a bunch of magic. The rear limited slip diff is working its magic. The motors are moving torque around as needed. And this is a fun, I already like EVs. You can have fun in a lot of different EVs. This is a new level of fun we're unlocking with a car like this. And you don't need to do Taycan Turbo GT amount of money to have that fun. Sub $70,000 for almost 700 horsepower, 641 horsepower in full boost mode, 601 normally. So I should say closer to 600 horsepower than 7. And just something designed to be absolutely entertaining out here. And it is. The seats do a good job of holding me in place. The brakes respond well. You can use the regen to set up for corners a little bit. The steering is nice and sharp and perfectly weighted. I knew I was going to enjoy this car. I had my doubts about the gear shifting. I'm still not totally in love with it. I need more time with that because there were times in corners where I didn't need it to shift, and it did, and it almost feels like it upsets the balance of the car for a second, but it is absolutely fun. No question about that. So from that perspective, this thing is an absolute hilarious blast out here. Back to the street though, because that's where most of these are going to live. Not a lot of people are going to track them, but if you do track them, it's an 800 volt car, so the charging architecture is great. It's you know, the fastest currently available basically. I think you can do a peak speed of 235 kilowatts. You can go from 10 to 80% in 18 minutes as long as you find the charger, you know, that's doling out the juice like that. It's an 84 kilowatt hour battery pack, and it's just so it's a good EV in that it's a fast charger and delivers good power, and then it's just a good car because it's an absolute blast to drive. Some people are going to say, I'm not spending $66,000 for a Hyundai. Well, that's a ridiculous statement in this instance, because what this is a $66,000 track-tuned 601 horsepower up to 641 horsepower having vehicle. And if I didn't tell you what it was and I just said that, you'd be like, oh, okay, so that might be a good deal. These seats, though supportive, are comfortable. All the track gimmicky stuff is really fun. There's a drift mode. It's good. That's the bottom line. It's really good. This will complete 2 laps of the Nürburgring before it needs to be charged. That's pretty damn impressive. That's really impressive. They're coming out with a one-make race series in South Korea for these. There's a cup car version basically called the EN1 that looks pretty badass, but it uses the same, under the skin, it's basically the same car. That one just gets a little bit lightweighting and, you know, roll cage, FIA stuff, a big wing, and then slicks. But that's pretty badass, and they'll have chargers at the track, so you can do a 20-minute session, come back, charge it for 20 minutes, then go back and do another 20-minute session. It's interesting how much they've focused on the fun side of this. Not just like turning up the juice a little bit on an EV, but like really refining the brakes, the suspension. They work with Pirelli to get the tires right. Though out on the track, I'm not a huge Pirelli fan. I'm more of a Michelin BFG guy. Pirelli's always seem a bit softer than I like in terms of like laying over on the sidewall. And then to credit to Pirelli though, it is working with a lot of mass. I think this is 4,861 pounds if I'm recalling the number correctly. So the suspension engineers and the tire engineers had a shitload of work ahead of them. But it was a blast out there. It wants to rotate. I can adjust the torque distribution if I feel like it. To, 100% rear. It will intervene and throw some to the front if needed as detected. But you can have sideways fun in this. You can have on the limit fun in this, and then you can just have canyon road. Oh, power delivery is fantastic. It's just, this thing's awesome. That's the bottom line. I'm babbling here because I'm stuck behind a stupid car, so I can't go too fast on this road. But this thing is awesome.